Why people in the Middle Ages were often healthier than we expect. Despite primitive medicine and limited food, at first glance the idea sounds absurd. The Middle Ages had no antibiotics, no modern hospitals, no vaccines, no blood tests, no imaging, no nutritional science. Medical knowledge was limited, superstition was common, and many treatments were ineffective or dangerous. Food options were narrow and repetitive. Most people lived physically demanding lives under harsh conditions. And yet when historians, archaeologists, and medical researchers look closely at the evidence, a more complicated picture emerges. Despite their lack of modern medicine and their seemingly poor diets, many people in the Middle Ages were healthier than we expect, and in some important ways, healthier than modern populations. They suffered fewer chronic diseases. Obesity was rare. Metabolic disorders were almost non-existent. Digestive problems, autoimmune conditions, and long-term inflammatory illnesses were far less common. Those who survived childhood often maintained functional health well into adulthood, capable of sustained physical labor that would overwhelm many people today. This is not nostalgia. It is not romanticizing the past. Medieval life was hard, often brutal, and short by modern standards. But the paradox remains. How could people with inferior medicine, limited food choices, and harsh living conditions often enjoy better everyday health than societies with unprecedented medical technology? The answer has little to do with doctors and almost everything to do with biology, lifestyle, and the environment the human body evolved for. The illusion of poor health. When people hear Middle Ages, they picture filth, disease, and weakness. That image comes largely from mortality statistics. Life expectancy was low, often cited as 30 to 40 years. But this number is misleading. Average life expectancy was dragged down by extremely high infant and childhood mortality. Many children died from infections that are easily treated today. Once someone survived into adolescence or early adulthood, their chances of living into their 50s or 60s increased significantly. More importantly, how people died matters more than how long they lived. Medieval people often died suddenly, from injury, infection, or epidemic. Modern people die slowly, from chronic disease. A short life is not the same as a sick life. Fewer foods, but real food. Medieval diets were simple, repetitive, and local. But they had one overwhelming advantage over modern diets. They were real. Food came from nearby fields, forests, rivers, and farms. There was no industrial processing, no chemical preservatives, no artificial colors, flavors, or stabilizers, no refined sugars, no hydrogenated oils, no ultra-processed products engineered for shelf life. Grains were grown locally, adapted to regional soil and climate over generations. Farmers saved seeds from the strongest plants, creating genetic diversity rather than uniformity. Vegetables were eaten in season. Meat was occasional. Dairy was fermented. Bread was not fast food. It was fermented slowly using wild yeast and bacteria, breaking down anti-nutrients and making minerals bioavailable. Ale was lightly alcoholic, unfiltered, and alive with microbes. Cheese, yogurt, sauerkraut, and other fermented foods were staples, not health trends. Modern people eat far more calories, but fewer nutrients. Medieval people ate fewer calories, but their food worked with the body rather than against it. Fermentation, the forgotten technology. One of the most overlooked reasons for medieval health is fermentation. Nearly every staple food was fermented in some way. Bread, beer, dairy, vegetables, all relied on microbial activity. This mattered enormously. Fermentation breaks down complex carbohydrates, reduces phytic acid that blocks mineral absorption, produces enzymes that aid digestion, creates beneficial bacteria that support gut health, stabilizes food without chemicals. Modern food processing does the opposite. It sterilizes, it strips, it simplifies. It kills microbes and replaces them with additives. The human digestive system evolved alongside fermented food. Remove that partnership and problems begin to appear. Today, gut disorders are widespread. In medieval times, they were rare. Weak medicine, strong baseline health. It is true, medieval medicine was primitive. People died from infections that antibiotics could easily cure. Wounds could turn fatal. Epidemics were devastating. Medical theory was often wrong. But here is the key distinction. Medicine was weak, but baseline health was strong. Medieval bodies were not under constant metabolic stress. There was no refined sugar spiking insulin all day, no corn syrup, no industrial seed oils altering inflammation pathways, no microplastics, no chemical residues accumulating over decades. The liver was not overloaded. The gut microbiome was diverse. The immune system was trained, not confused. Modern medicine is powerful, but it operates in a hostile internal environment created by modern lifestyles. We treat diseases that medieval bodies rarely developed in the first place. Movement as a way of life. Medieval people worked hard. There is no denying that. But their physical activity followed patterns the human body understands. They walked constantly, lifted, carried, dug, climbed. Movement was integrated into life, not scheduled. There were no prolonged periods of inactivity followed by brief bursts of exercise. Work followed daylight. Rest followed darkness. Sleep aligned with circadian rhythms. There was no artificial light extending the day, no screens overstimulating the brain late into the night. Stress was real, but it was episodic and physical. Modern stress is constant and psychological. The human nervous system handles short-term physical stress well. It breaks down under long-term emotional and cognitive stress. The absence of chronic overstimulation. One of the most underestimated differences between medieval and modern life is mental load. Medieval people worried about survival, but they were not bombarded by information. There were no notifications, no constant news cycles, no social comparison through screens. The brain had long periods of low stimulation, silence, darkness, repetition, predictability. Modern humans live in an environment of continuous stimulation. Dopamine systems are overloaded. Attention is fragmented. Anxiety becomes chronic. Mental health suffers, and physical health follows. Calories versus metabolism. Medieval diets were calorie limited by modern standards. Food was not constantly available. Hunger was familiar. This mattered. Periodic scarcity created natural fasting cycles. Insulin sensitivity was preserved. Fat metabolism functioned properly. Obesity was rare. Modern abundance has destroyed metabolic flexibility. We eat constantly, snack constantly, stimulate insulin constantly. The result is diabetes, heart disease, and chronic inflammation. The medieval body rested metabolically. The modern body never does. They died differently. This is the most important point. Medieval people died from accidents, acute infections, childbirth complications, epidemics. Modern people die from heart disease, cancer, diabetes, neurodegenerative disease, autoimmune disorders. One society lacked medical intervention. The other suffers from prolonged biological stress. If modern medicine were applied to medieval lifestyles, human health would likely be exceptional. Instead, we apply modern medicine to modern lifestyles and spend decades managing chronic illness. Skeletons don't lie. Archaeological evidence supports this view. Skeletal remains from medieval populations often show strong bone density, well-developed muscle attachments, fewer signs of chronic disease, less evidence of nutritional deficiency than expected. Dental health varied, but widespread decay linked to sugar consumption appears only after sugar becomes common. Bodies adapted to their environment, and that environment, while harsh, was biologically coherent. The price of convenience. Modern life optimized for convenience, speed, and profit. Food became cheaper, faster, longer lasting, and biologically alien. Movement disappeared. Light extended into the night. Work became sedentary. Stress became constant. We gained control over nature and lost alignment with biology. Medicine stepped in to manage the damage, but medicine treats symptoms, not causes. The real lesson: medieval people were not healthier because they were smarter or morally superior. They were healthier than we expect because they had not yet broken the connection between human biology and the natural world. They ate less, but better. They moved more, but naturally. They lived shorter lives, but spent fewer years sick. They didn't rely on medicine, not because medicine was good, but because their lifestyle didn't constantly create disease. The question we should be asking. The question is not, why were medieval people healthy? The question is, why are we so sick despite having everything? Modern society did not fail because it abandoned medieval medicine. It failed because it abandoned medieval constraints: unlimited food, unlimited stimulation, unlimited comfort, unlimited light. The human body was not built for unlimited anything. Conclusion. The Middle Ages were not a golden age, but they reveal an uncomfortable truth. Health is not created by technology alone. It emerges from alignment between biology and environment. The medieval world, for all its hardship, preserved that alignment better than we do today. And until we address that gap, no amount of medical progress will fully compensate for what we've lost.